Thomson Reuters has launched its brand new Diversity and Inclusion Index, ranking the top 100 global publicly traded companies according to just how diverse and inclusive their workplaces are. Patsy Doerr is Global Head Corporate Responsibility and Inclusion at Thomson Reuters and joins me now. Patsy, let's start with a brief overview of the index. What does it offer?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me today. The index is really rather unique in the sense that there's two things about it that we're focusing on. Number one, what we're trying to do is basically leverage what we do as an organization around data analytics and information management to create a product that will help companies better understand and improve their focus on diversity and inclusion, but at the same time provide a tool and a resource to investors who are starting to make investment decisions based on how diverse and inclusive companies are. So basically, we leveraged our existing Asset 4, or environmental, social, and governance data that we already track on 4,300 companies around the globe, narrowed it down to 24 variables that define diversity and inclusion, and that allows us to identify the top 100 companies who actually score high on the index and also link it back to financial performance.
I guess, Patsy, one of the big questions has to be why investors should care about whether or not companies are behaving in a socially conscious manner. Wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely. Fantastic question. I'll tell you what, over the past couple years, the conversation around diversity and inclusion has evolved both internally and externally amongst many, many stakeholders around the globe. And the point is that there's now so much research, so much data out there that proves that companies that are more diverse and inclusive, whether it's related to race, gender, the LGBT community, or otherwise, basically the statistics are telling us that those companies perform better on the bottom line. A, in terms of employee engagement, B, in terms of productivity, C, in terms of innovation, and then finally, stock performance over time. So the data's there, the research is there, and the investors are paying that much more attention to it as a result.
So you don't think then this is a trend that could fizzle out? You think this is something that will continue?
Absolutely. I think that, in fact, it's going to get stronger over time because more and more companies are starting to create functions that actually focus on these areas and track the impact both internally and externally. So I think as a result of the pressures coming from regulators, governments, investors, as well as employees, so even talent that we wish to acquire, the millennials, for example, these topics around corporate responsibility and particularly diversity and inclusion weigh heavily on their minds. And so I see this trend continuing to increase over time.
At the top, you ran us through what the index offers generally. Let me ask you this, how is it going to be different from others out there, other indexes like this out there? Because there are several around, right?
There are other indices, for sure, but we did our research before building this product, and there are no other indices that are exactly the same as ours in the following ways. Number one, ours actually tracks diversity and inclusion across all aspects of diversity and inclusion, both in terms of the culture and the mix of people. Most of the indices focus on one aspect of diversity, whether it be women, LGBT community, race, or otherwise. So that's one particularly unique factor. The second piece is that given that we as an organization have about 15 indices already in existence, whether it's fixed income, equities, or otherwise, we've got the experience out there. We've got the comprehensive data and research and statistics to support this index in a much more comprehensive way than others are able to do so at this time.
On a personal note, a more personal note to finish up with, Patsy, as Head of Global Responsibility and Inclusion at Thomson Reuters, what makes you especially proud of this product as we launch it now?
Well, it's also a great question. I mean, I am delighted to be launching this product, A, because I think it puts us as an organization in a terrific position in terms of thought leadership, and not from the perspective of wanting just that aspect of it, but enabling us to provide other companies, investors, employees, other stakeholders with access to information they wouldn't normally have. And given that our database is so large, it actually gives them a strong comparative point and a basis to really look at how can they get better in this space, and again then have the impact on all of those areas around engagement, productivity, and the bottom line as we spoke about earlier. So I'm delighted that we can actually use what we do as a company to provide this service and this information to our customers, to our partners, because at the end of the day, Axel, this whole exercise around diversity and inclusion is one that needs to happen collectively. Companies need to come together to make these decisions, to work together to build diversity in their organizations on a global collective basis. And I think this tool will really help us do that more effectively.
Very exciting. Best of luck to all involved. To learn more about the index, do visit our website. Many thanks for watching. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.